The Success System That Never Fails, by W. Clement Stone. Introduction. Imagine a little boy, just 6 years old, standing on a tough street corner in Chicago. It's a cold day, and the older, bigger kids are shouting louder, grabbing all the customers, and shoving him aside with threats and clenched fists. He's scared. He's selling newspapers, and every unsold paper is a failure, a loss of the few pennies he borrowed to buy them in the first place. To a 6-year-old, this is a catastrophe. Most kids would have given up. They would have gone home, defeated. But this little boy did something different. He saw a nearby restaurant, Holes. It was busy, prosperous, and frankly, terrifying to a small child. But an idea sparked. He took a deep breath, walked in, and sold a paper at the first table. Then another at the second. And a third. But just as he was heading for the fourth table, the owner, Mr. Hole, grabbed him and pushed him out the front door. Now, this is the moment that defines a life. This is the hinge on which a big door swings. What do you do when you get pushed out? The little boy, with 3 sales in his pocket, waited until Mr. Hole wasn't looking, and he walked right back in. He went to the fourth table, where a customer, amused by his sheer nerve, bought a paper and gave him an extra dime. And just as quickly, Mr. Hole pushed him out again. But now he had 4 sales and a bonus. He had a taste of victory. So what did he do? He walked back in a third time. The whole restaurant started laughing, enjoying the show. One customer shouted, "Let him be," and in the next 5 minutes, he sold every single paper he had. That little boy was W. Clement Stone. And that single afternoon contained the secret seeds of a system that would take him from a poor kid on the South Side to the head of a billion-dollar insurance empire. He didn't know it then, but he had stumbled upon a formula for success so powerful, so reliable, that he would later call it the success system that never fails. What if I told you that the very same principles that boy used, that grit, that strategy, that mindset, could be bottled and applied to any goal you have in your life? Whether you want to ace your exams, build a business, or just become a more confident person, what if there was a repeatable formula to get you there? That is the bold promise of this book. It's not about luck. It's not about genius. It's about a system. And by the end of our time together today, you will understand the 3 simple, powerful ingredients that make this system work. You will have a treasure map to the most valuable riches in life, and you'll realize they've been hiding in a place you never thought to look. Book summary. We all want something, don't we? No matter who we are, where we come from, there's an inner yearning. For some, it's money, prestige, a certain position in life. For others, it's a happy family, love, or the chance to make a difference in the world. We all want to feel healthy, happy, and fulfilled. These are the desires that drive us. They are the engine of human action. But here's the great mystery of life. If everyone wants these things, why do so many people fall by the wayside? Why do they wake up one day, years later, standing in the exact same spot they were when they were young, their dreams faded and their potential untapped? W. Clement Stone argues that the difference between success and failure isn't a vast chasm. It's actually a very small gap. It's not about being born with a higher IQ or having more talent. The great figures of history, he says, weren't necessarily smarter than you or me. They simply learned how to unlock and use a latent power that resides within every single one of us. They found a system. And that system, the one Stone discovered through a lifetime of trial and error, is built on 3 core pillars. 3 ideas that are so simple, they are often overlooked. He calls them little hinges that swing big doors. Once you understand them, really understand them, you hold the keys to any future you can imagine. Those three pillars are inspiration to action, know-how, and activity knowledge. Let's start with the most important one, the spark that lights the fire, inspiration to action. This is your why. It's the motive, the inner urge that propels you to get out of bed in the morning and do what needs to be done. Without it, nothing else matters. You can have the best plan in the world, but if you don't feel like doing it, you won't. Think back to that 6-year-old boy in the restaurant. What was his inspiration to action? It was simple. He needed the money. Those newspapers would be worthless if he didn't sell them. His motivation was born of necessity. But inspiration can come from many places. Stone tells a beautiful story about a woman named Drive. Lorraine Golden. She was a successful doctor with a large private practice, but she felt a calling. She gave up her high income to open a children's center for crippled kids, believing she could use her talents, with the help of a higher power, to help them walk. One day, Stone was touring her spotlessly clean clinic and saw a little girl named Jenny. Her mother told him, for the first 4 years of her life, she was a cripple, unable to walk. We didn't have money, so I brought her here. Drive. Golden told me Jenny had a nerve blockage. Now, Jenny can walk. The mother then looked at Stone with tears in her eyes and said something profound. Outside my church, this is the only house in which I feel the presence of God. Drive. Golden's inspiration to action wasn't a need for money. It was a deep, selfless desire to serve. That kind of desire is a force of nature. It cannot be held down. Sometimes, inspiration comes from a place of dissatisfaction. But not just any dissatisfaction. Stone calls it inspirational dissatisfaction. It's the feeling that things aren't right, and you are the one who has to do something about it. Consider the story of the heavyweight boxer Floyd Patterson. He was the champion of the world, and then, in a stunning upset, he was knocked to the canvas and lost his title. The experts said he was finished. No heavyweight champion in history had ever won back the crown. But Floyd refused to accept failure. He became wholesomely dissatisfied. He knew he could do better. That dissatisfaction fueled him. He changed his mental attitude, he studied, he listened to his trainers, and he worked harder than ever before. When he stepped back into the ring, he was a different man. He regained his title, breaking the jinx, all because inspirational dissatisfaction gave him the fuel he needed to act. So, the first step is to find your why. What is it that truly moves you? Is it a need? A desire to help others? A dissatisfaction with your current situation? You have to find that emotional driver, because logic alone will rarely get you through the tough times. But inspiration without direction is just raw energy. It can fizzle out or, worse, lead you in the wrong direction. That's where the next two pillars come in: activity knowledge and know-how. Let's separate these two, because they're different. Activity knowledge is the what. It's the information, the facts, the theory. It's the stuff you can learn from books, from teachers, from studying. When young Stone was selling newspapers, his activity knowledge was knowing the headlines. He heard the older kids yelling them, so he knew what to say. When he started selling insurance, his activity knowledge was reading and studying the policy until he knew it inside and out. This part is crucial. You can't succeed in a field you know nothing about. You have to do your homework. But we all know people who are walking encyclopedias, who have all the book smarts in the world, yet they can't seem to make things happen in real life. That's because they're missing the third, and perhaps most magical, ingredient: know-how. Know-how is the how. It's not just knowing what to do, it's the skill of doing it effectively, with a minimum of wasted time and effort. It's the mother who cooks a sensational meal with a pinch of this and a dash of that. She can't write down the recipe perfectly because her know-how is in her hands, her instincts, her experience. It has become a habit. and there is only one way to get know-how: by doing. By trying, failing, adjusting, and trying again. This is where Stone's story as a teenage insurance salesman becomes a masterclass. His mother gave him some basic instructions. Canvass an entire office building, start at the top floor, call on every office, and use the introduction, "May I take a moment of your time?" He was terrified. But he had learned a lesson as a Boy Scout: when you go for something, don't come back until you get it. So he followed the instructions. He had the activity knowledge, the policy details, and the inspiration he wanted to earn money, but he had to develop the know-how on the fly. And that's when the real learning began. He quickly discovered that his opening line, "May I take a moment of your time?" was terrible. Many people simply said no. One day, a sales manager jumped up, pounded his desk, and shouted, "Boy, as long as you live, never ask a man for his time. Take it." That day, Stone sold the manager and 26 of his salesmen. A lesson in know-how was learned. He experimented and came up with a new opener. "I believe this will interest you also." No one ever said no to that. They'd ask, "What is it?" and he was in. He also had to conquer his fear. The fear of opening a closed door, especially one with frosted glass where he couldn't see who was on the other side, was paralyzing. He reasoned with himself, "Success is achieved by those who try." Where there is nothing to lose by trying and a great deal to gain if successful, by all means try. But logic, he found, doesn't always defeat fear. The emotion was still there. So he developed a self-starter, a little mental trick to force himself into motion. A 3-word phrase: "Do it now." As soon as he left one office, he wouldn't let himself hesitate. He would rush to the next door, and if he felt that wave of fear, he would mentally shout, "Do it now," and turn the handle before his brain could talk him out of it. He realized a profound truth: thinking will not overcome fear, but action will. The emotions aren't subject to reason, but they are subject to action. He refined his know-how in other ways. He learned to control his voice, speaking loudly and rapidly with a smile to sound confident even when he wasn't. He learned to point at the policy when he was talking, so the prospect's eyes would follow his finger instead of looking at him and shaking their head no. He learned that trying to sell every single person was exhausting. He set a time limit for himself on each call. If he couldn't close the sale in that time, he would leave pleasantly. This saved his energy, and, amazingly, sometimes the prospect would be so surprised he didn't argue that they'd follow him to the next office and buy the policy. Each of these was a piece of know-how, learned not from a book, but from direct, repetitive experience. He was building his system, brick by brick. So we have the 3 pillars: inspiration to action, the engine; activity knowledge, the map; and know-how, the skill to drive the car. When you have all 3 working together, you have a system that is incredibly powerful. But even with a great system, you can still get stuck if you're in the wrong environment or if your own mindset is working against you. This is why Stone emphasizes the importance of being a self-builder. A self-builder is someone who takes conscious control of their life. They don't just let things happen to them, they make things happen. And it starts with 2 key decisions: controlling your environment and taking inventory of yourself. When it was time for high school, Stone concluded that one school was better than another. So, even though it was complicated, he arranged to move and live with a family in that district so he could attend the better school. He made a conscious choice to place himself in an environment that would help him grow. He says, "In the end, your environment will control you. Therefore, make sure that you control your environment." This means choosing your friends, your mentors, and the information you consume wisely. The second part of being a self-builder is to regularly take inventory of yourself. Stone tells a fantastic story about a banker friend named Mike Corrigan. Mike made a bad loan, lost his bank a lot of money, and was fired. He was completely defeated. His walk, His face, his voice, everything about him screamed failure. He couldn't find a new job because his negative attitude was so obvious. A friend gave him a book and told him to list his assets, not just his financial assets, but all the things he had done in his past job to make or save the bank money. Mike did this, but he went a step further. He made another list under the heading, My True Assets. On that list, he didn't write about his banking skills. He wrote, a wonderful wife who meant the world to him. A daughter who brought him joy and sunshine. A healthy mind and body. Many good friends. The privilege of living in America. A house and car, fully paid for. As he wrote this list, something inside him shifted. He realized that despite losing his job, he was still an incredibly wealthy man. The transformation was immediate. His confidence returned, his voice became firm, his smile genuine. He was no longer a victim, he was a man of value. A few days later, he landed a great job as the treasurer of a large hospital. Taking inventory of your true assets reminds you of your inherent worth, which is the foundation of the confidence you need to pursue your goals. But what if the biggest obstacle isn't your environment or your circumstances, but a battle going on inside your own head? Stone is very clear that the ultimate key to success is character. It's the ability to win the battle over yourself. He tells a heartbreaking story of a great actor he admired as a boy. The man was a hero on stage, brilliant and talented. Years later, Stone saw him again. He was still famous, but he had become an alcoholic. The audience applauded when he stumbled over lines or forgot them entirely. They were laughing at him, not with him. He was a great man who had left his future behind him because he lost the inner battle. He lacked character. So how do you build character? How do you win over yourself? Stone introduces a fascinating concept, the power of suggestion, self-suggestion, and autosuggestion. Suggestion is what comes from the outside, from people, books, or your environment. When I tell you, try to do the right thing because it is right, that's a suggestion. Self-suggestion is when you deliberately take that idea and repeat it to yourself. It's you consciously programming your own mind. You choose the thought. Autosuggestion is the magic that happens next. After you've repeated a self-suggestion enough times, it becomes part of your subconscious mind. It becomes automatic. When you're faced with a temptation, the thought "do the right thing" will flash into your mind without you even trying. It becomes a reflex. This is how you build good habits. You deliberately choose a positive thought or a self-motivator, like "do it now," or "success is achieved by those who try," and you repeat it over and over, with emotion and feeling, especially in the morning and at night. Then, you must act on it the moment it comes to mind. By repeating this cycle of thought and action, you forge a new habit, a new pathway in your brain. You are literally building character through conscious effort. This brings us to the final piece of the puzzle. You can have the inspiration, the knowledge, the know-how, and the character, but to truly complete the system, you need one more thing: a living philosophy. By 1939, Stone had built a very successful national insurance agency. He felt he had mastered his system. And then, it was put to the ultimate test. While he was on vacation in Florida, he received a letter from the insurance company he represented. It stated that in 2 weeks, his license and the licenses of all his thousands of agents would be terminated. The president of the company was leaving on a trip and couldn't be reached. His entire business, his life's work, was about to be destroyed. He had a serious problem. What do you do when the walls cave in? This, he says, is where your faith is tested. It's where your philosophy has to be more than just words. It has to be something you live by. He went into his bedroom, alone, for 45 minutes. He didn't panic. First, he knelt and thanked God for his blessings: a healthy body, a healthy mind, a wonderful wife and children, the privilege of living in a land of opportunity. Then, he prayed for guidance and help. And he believed he would receive it. When he arose, he had made 4 resolutions. 1. I wouldn't be fired. 2. I would organize my own insurance company, and by 1956 it would be the largest in its field in the United States. 3. He had a third, personal objective he also set for 1956. 4. He would contact the president of the company, no matter where in the world he might be. He immediately got into his car, drove to the nearest public phone, and managed to track down the company president. He succeeded because he took immediate, positive action, guided by his philosophy. He saved his contract. And by 1956, he had indeed built the largest and most successful company of its kind in the nation. He proved that his system didn't just work on sunny days. It worked in the middle of the storm. And that is the essence of the success system that never fails. It begins with finding a deep, emotional inspiration to action. It requires you to gain the necessary activity knowledge through study and the indispensable know-how through practice and experience. It demands that you become a self-builder, consciously shaping your environment and your character. And it all rests on the bedrock of a positive, living philosophy that guides you through the inevitable challenges of life. It's a journey from the outside in, learning the facts and skills, but also a journey from the inside out, building the character and mindset that makes success not just possible, but sustainable. Commentary. When you really break it down, what W. Clement Stone offers us is a philosophy of personal responsibility. In a world that often encourages us to look for external reasons for our failures, the economy, our upbringing, the system, Stone's message is a powerful and refreshing reminder that the tiller is in our own hands. We can steer the course. What I find most compelling about this book is its beautiful simplicity. The concepts of inspiration to action, know-how, and activity knowledge aren't complex psychological jargon. They are intuitive. They make sense. They feel like truths we already knew but had forgotten how to apply. He gives us a language for the process of achievement. The lesson that resonates most deeply today, I believe, is the idea of being a self-builder. We live in an age of unprecedented distraction and influence. Our environment is no longer just our neighborhood or school, it's the entire digital world, constantly feeding us suggestions, shaping our thoughts, and pulling at our attention. Stone's advice to consciously choose your environment and the ideas you expose yourself to is more critical now than it ever was. Tearing down the unseen walls of our own limited thinking is a daily battle, and this book gives us the weapons to fight it. His emphasis on action is the perfect antidote to the paralysis of overthinking. How many times have we been stuck, not because we don't know what to do, but because we're afraid to start? The self-starter "do it now" is more than just a motivational platitude. It's a behavioral tool. It's a circuit breaker for procrastination. It builds momentum, and as Stone points out, it takes far more energy to overcome inertia from a standstill than to continue a body already in motion. So, how can you start applying this system today, right now? Here are 3 simple actions you can take. First, find your inspiration. Just like Mike Corrigan, take inventory of your true assets. Sit down with a piece of paper and write down everything you are grateful for: the people, the health, the opportunities. Then, ask yourself, what do I want to build on this foundation? What is one thing I am wholesomely dissatisfied with that I can change? Find that emotional why and write it down in a place where you'll see it every day. Second, practice one self-starter. For the next week, pick one thing you tend to procrastinate on. Maybe it's starting your homework, going for a run, or cleaning your room. The moment you feel that hesitation, say "do it now" out loud, and physically move your body to begin the task within 3 seconds. Don't think. Just act. See what happens. Third, learn one piece of know-how. Don't just read about something, do it. Pick a small skill you want to learn. Maybe it's cooking a new dish, learning a few chords on a guitar, or practicing a new conversation opener. Go through the cycle of trying, making a mistake, learning from it, and trying again. Feel what it's like to build know-how through your own experience, not just someone else's explanation. In the end, the success system that never fails is not a magic wand. It's a commitment. It's the commitment to be an active participant in your own life, to direct your thoughts, control your emotions, and, as Stone so powerfully puts it, to ordain your own destiny. The greatest treasure map he provides doesn't lead to a chest of gold, but to the realization that the treasure, the power, the potential, the ability to create the life you desire, was inside you all along. That was a summary of The Success System That Never Fails by W. Clement Stone. We've touched on the core ideas today, but a summary is like looking at a photograph of a magnificent feast. You can see what's on the table, but you can't taste the food. The real nourishment comes from experiencing the book for yourself. It's in the dozens of other stories, the simple phrases that seem to be written just for you, and the quiet moments of reflection that can spark a real change. This summary is a doorway. If anything we've discussed has struck a chord with you, I encourage you to walk through it. Grab a copy, because reading it isn't just about learning, it's an experience that can fundamentally shift how you see your own potential. The link to the book is in the description below. Also, if you found this journey valuable, please take a moment to click that like button and subscribe to the channel. That way, you won't miss our next deep dive into another life-changing book from the billionaire's bookshelf. Let's keep growing together.